Good morning, class. Welcome to today's lecture. And today, according to your timetable, it is English language. And today, we are going to study a different topic of the subject. Today's topic will be unseen passage. Unseen passage is also called reading comprehension. So, let me share screen first. Okay, dear. Okay, children. So, here today we'll be studying unseen passage, or it is also called reading comprehension. Okay. So, what is unseen passage? In English language, you see, like, you have done this in your previous classes. You get a passage and you have to read that passage, and on the basis of that passage, you get some questions that you have to answer. Okay. And that is the most easiest part of the paper and most scoring also. It consists of almost 10 to 12 marks of the paper. And till what up to whatever class, up to whatever level you will be studying English language, you will be getting this topic, unseen passage or reading comprehension. And this is very important in our daily life also. Like, all should have, in today's world, all should have the importance, all should understand the importance of reading. Okay. You all read different topics, you all read different books, you all read different chapters, and you, after reading those topics, after reading those books, after reading those chapters, you get to understand something from the text that is written. Okay. And on the basis of your interpretation, you develop your thinking capacity, you develop the ways of answering the questions based on that topic. Okay. Suppose in science you are reading a topic called Archimedes principle. Okay. You have read this topic, you have read the Archimedes principle, and you have, while reading the text, while reading your textbook, you have understood about Archimedes principle. So whatever questions that will be asked from that topic, that means from Archimedes principle, you'll be able to answer that. Okay. So this reading comprehension or unseen passage gives you a base, gives you a starting point to understand the text. You start with the short text, and while reading the short text, while understanding the short text, while interpreting the short text, you get into the habit of reading long text also. You get into the habit of understanding the long text and interpreting it in your own words. Okay. So let us start. What is reading comprehension? See it in the slide here. Reading comprehension is the level of understanding of a text or message. This understanding comes from the interaction between the words that are written and how they trigger knowledge outside the text or message. Comprehension is a creative, multifaceted, multifaceted process dependent upon four language skills, that is phonology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Okay. So what is reading comprehension? Reading comprehension is the level of understanding a text or message, that I have told you in the starting also, that it is the level of understanding a text. Whatever the text or a message is written, you you read that text or message and you understand something from the text or message. That is a reading comprehension. This understanding comes from the interaction between the words that are written and how they trigger knowledge outside the text or message. Okay. So that understanding comes from the interaction between the words. Okay. When you read a text, when you read a passage, when you read a book, when you read a story, or when you read a message, you interact with the words. There's an interaction between you and the words. Words means the words that are written or printed on the text. Okay. The words of the text, the words of the book, the words of the passage, the words of the message. There's a interaction between you and that text. Okay, so it is the understanding of that interaction between the person and the text. Okay, and how they trigger knowledge outside the text or message. And it the those text or message or whatever passage you are reading, it is triggering means it is giving you some information, and you are able to get that information by reading. Okay, comprehension is a creative, multifaceted process dependent upon four language skills, that is phonology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. And the comprehension is based on these four language skills, that is phonology. What is phonology? The way of pronouncing. From while you read a text, you get to uh, learn new pronunciations also. Okay, you get to know the syntax also, you get to know the semantics also, and you get to know the pragmatics also. So comprehension is based on these four language skills, that is phonology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Next, now, what is the aim of reading comprehension or unseen passage? The aim of comprehension is to test the ability of a student to read and understand a passage. Like at your age, what your age, like you as the students of English grammar, what is the aim of reading comprehension? The aim of reading comprehension is just to test the ability of you to read and understand a passage. Okay, it is a test. Okay, that reading comprehension is a test is a test of how you understand a text or a message or a passage. Okay, how you understand a passage, and you interpret and you get to know something from that passage. Okay, that is the aim of reading comprehension. Okay, next point. On the basis of the content, some questions have to be answered at the end of the passage with a limited time. Okay, so on the basis of the passage, on the basis of the content that is given, and on the basis of your understanding what you have understood from the text, there are some questions that has to be answered. Okay, there are some questions which is based on that passage, and you have to answer those questions. Next, one should be able to understand the subject the passage deals with. And with the passage you have to understand the subject, like for what thing the passage, like for what is the subject of the passage, what is the passage talking about, that also you have to understand by reading the unseen passage. Okay, next. Now, here are the ways how you attempt a reading comprehension, or how you attempt the unseen passage. Number one, read the passage carefully before. When you get to attempt, or when you attempt an unseen passage, first you have to read the passage very carefully, very carefully. Okay, next you have to read the questions. After reading the passage, then you have to read the questions. Okay, and while reading the questions, you have to find the answers of those questions from the text, from the passage. Okay, so first you have to read the passage very carefully, then after reading the passage you have to read the questions that is given after that passage. And while reading those questions, and after reading those questions, you have to find the answers of those questions. Okay, from the passage that is given. And finally, you have to write the answers of the questions in your own words. Remember, you have to write the answers in your own words. It should not be copied from the passage. You have to write your answers in your own words. One thing you have to remember, answers must be written properly and without grammatical or spelling mistakes. Whatever answers you write, you have to write all the answers very properly without any grammatical or spelling mistakes. Okay, now here is a practice passage for you, with which we will just see how an unseen passage is attempted. So let us read together. We must do all we can to stop conflicts and civil war. Most conflicts happen in poor countries, especially which are badly governed or where power and wealth are not distributed fairly between different tribal or religious groups. So the best way to check fighting is to make a political arrangement in which all groups have their representatives. The need is to ensure human rights and economic development for all. The next fundamental freedom is one that is not mentioned in the UN Charter. In 1945, the leaders could not imagine that such a situation would arise, that is, the freedom of future generations to live on this planet. Even now, many of us have not understood its importance. We are using up the limited resources for our present use. We are overusing and even wasting them. We are in fact robbing our children of their right, to live. We must preserve our forests, fisheries, and wildlife. All of these are collapsing because of our own habit of consuming or destroying them. Okay, so as you can see in the passage, let's read for your convenience once again and understand the passage time to time. We must do all we must do all we can to stop conflicts and civil war. Okay, so it is being said in this passage that we have to do all the things that we can do to stop the conflicts and the civil war. Okay, most conflicts happen in poor countries, especially which are badly governed or where power and wealth are not distributed fairly between different tribal or religious groups. Okay, so these conflicts, which conflicts? The conflicts between the community, between the people, and the civil war mostly happens in the poor countries or the countries which are very badly governed, and the power, okay, and the wealth means the money, the income, the you can say the wealth is not equally distributed among the sections of the people, among the each and every section of the society. Okay, so most of the wars happen in those regions only. Okay, uh, so the best way to check fighting is to make a political arrangement in which all groups have their representatives. So what is being said here? So to check those conflicts or to check those civil war, the best way is to make a political arrangement, that a political arrangement should be made in which all the groups have their representatives. So all the kind of political arrangement should be made in which all the representatives have their in which all the in which all the groups of the society have their own representatives. Okay, the need is to ensure human rights and economic development of all. So what is the need of um, forming those groups and having a representative? Just to ensure human rights and economic development of all. Okay, so to check, to ensure that all are getting the human rights, all are having the economic development or benefiting with the economic development, so the representatives should be uh, selected or elected or appointed from for different sections of the society to represent that section of the society. Okay, the next fundamental freedom is one that is not mentioned in the UN Charter. So there is one fundamental freedom which is not mentioned in the UN Charter. You know, United Nations, it is an organization in which almost all the countries are a part of that UN. Okay, and it also has a charter. It also has it also has a kind of constitution for itself, and which is saying that one thing is not mentioned in that UN Charter also. In 1945, the leaders could not imagine such a situation would arise. Okay, so the leaders could not imagine that kind of situation will also arise, so they didn't feel the need they didn't felt the need to add that clause in the UN Charter. Okay, what is that clause? That is the freedom of future generations to live on this planet. What was that clause? That the how the future generations will live on this planet. Even now, many of us have not understood its importance. We are using up the limited resources for a present use. Okay, so another thing that is being talked here in this passage is like how the future generations will live. We, without thinking of a future generation, we are using the resources, we are using the natural resources, we are using the artificial resources. Okay, and we're not thinking about the future generations. And if we use it like this, so one day that those resources will not be left for the future generations, and that clause is missing from the UN Charter to preserve the resources for our future generations. Okay, we are using up the limited resources for our present use. We are overusing and even wasting them. Yes, we are overusing this and we are wasting them, like we are wasting our water, we are wasting water, we are wasting petrol, many things we are wasting. Okay, we are in fact robbing our children of their right to live. Yes, by misusing those resources, by overusing those resources, by wasting those resources, the citizens like, or we are um, robbing our children of their right to live. So our future generations will not be able to live properly if we continuously misuse those resources. We must preserve our forests, fisheries, and wildlife. In the passage, it is said that we must preserve our forest, we must preserve our fisheries, and we must preserve our wildlife. All of these are collapsing because of our own habit of consuming or destroying them. Okay. Now, based on this passage, here are some questions that you have to answer. Question number 1. Why do most conflicts happen in poor countries? Its answer will be most conflicts happen in poor countries because they are generally badly governed. Okay, why? In the passage you have seen that why conflicts happen in poor countries, because those poor countries are generally very badly governed. Next question. What is the best way to check conflicts? The best way to check conflicts is to make a political arrangement in which all groups have their representatives. This answer you have got from the passage, but see how you are uh, using this answer, how you're writing this answer in your own words. Next, what is meant by the freedom of future generations to live? What I have explained. It means the right of the coming generations to live. In short, it is written in whenever you write the answer, you write in a little detailed manner, like whatever I explained. What is meant by the future, the freedom of future generations to live? Okay, so you will write the complete answer what I have um, told you. Okay, it is just an unseen passage, so you will not get the same passage in the exam. It is just an example for yourself, for you, so that you can understand how the text is read or how the unseen passage is attempted. How are we robbing our children of their basic rights? We are using up the limited resources for our present use, thus we are doing injustice to the future generations. See, all the answers are written in own words. Okay, the text is under the text has been interpreted, the text has been understood, and the answers are written in the own words. What must we preserve for our children? We must save our forests and for use by our uh, fisheries for use by our great grandchildren. Okay, so this was the exercise of the unseen passage, in which you have seen how the unseen passage is attempted, how you can attempt the unseen, what is unseen passage, what is the aim of the reading comprehension or unseen passage is to test your ability to read and understand the passage. And first, and what is in this unseen passage, you get a passage and you read that passage, you understand that passage, and you answer some questions based on that passage. We have also studied the steps, how you how to attempt an unseen passage. Like first you have to read you have to read the passage carefully, and after this you have to read the questions carefully, and you have to find the answers of the questions from the passage, and finally you have to write the answers in your own words. Okay, so this is a very small topic and very easy topic and very easy to score. Okay, so if you study this nicely, if you practice unseen passage nicely, so you will score very good marks. Okay, so after seeing this video, there will be no multiple choice questions for unseen passage. You will only get a worksheet that you have to solve in your rough copies. Okay, so I hope the lecture is clear to you. If you have any doubt, you can ask to me on WhatsApp. You know that this is a very crucial time for us. The coronavirus is spreading gradually, and it is taking the lives of many people. So all should stay safe, all should stay healthy, and all should stay home. Okay, and all should not go outside during this lockdown, and all must support the lockdown, the government, and follow the guidelines of the World Health Organization, Government of India. Okay, so let us meet in the next lecture, and again I'm saying, if you have any doubts, so you can ask to me. Bye.